We are live. Welcome, folks, to the Fit Fuzz podcast, episode 23. Can you believe it, man? Top 10%. Boom. Every week we're saying it. I'm saying top 10% until we hit top 5%, and then I'm going to be saying top 5% until we hit top 2%. Kyle, how are you getting on, mate?
Then we're going to monetize it and go on OnlyFans, and that's exactly what's going to happen. I was good,
Only, only
good
pods.
only thoughts, mate. I was good up until I just spilled a bit of my porridge on my. So here, I'm back, mate. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling myself now.
Mate, this camera angle is not flattering for my forehead.
To be fair, mate, I do like the cameo that you've got on the camouflage there, mate. It's hard to see you.
So, right, do you want to know the reason I've had to put a jumper on?
Heating's
Because
not
I'm
working.
No, because I'm still wearing the same t-shirt that I trained in yesterday, and I didn't want people that seen my post yesterday watching the podcast and going, "Can't swear on the same t-shirt."
Fair enough, mate.
So I might just need to put the audio version of this on Spotify because that is a five head if I've ever seen one.
I'm just glad I can't smell you from here, mate.
Oh, come on. I just I smell like coffee.
Coffee and broken dreams.
How's your week been, mate? What's been going on?
Uh, yeah, no, oh, mate, it's just the with the summer, mate, it's just been so busy with like everybody's crawling out the woodwork, which isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing. I don't mean it to come across, but when you work for yourself, when the what you call it, the sun is shining, it's time to make hay, and I'm like every moment at the moment, I'm like. There's calls booked, there's people signing up, which when people sign up, it means, oh, there's my weekend, sat in the laptop again, which again, you take that short term, but at the same time, I'm like, I really am looking forward to a wee weekend. I've actually just been aware now that every weekend up until the baby is potentially born is now taken up with something. I'm like, I said this to Jen, I'm like, my life is now over. Like I have the freedom that I have in my weekends is gone. I'll never look at a weekend from this point until this kid is 14 and kicked out and had his own job.
14.
14. I mean, I'm going to start at the age of 11. My mum had it like my mum sent me out on a paper run at fucking 12 years old, and then
Mhm.
she never. I didn't know at the time, but she wouldn't let me leave a job until I had something else set up, and then that's the way I've had to live my life ever since. So since 12 years old, mate, I've not been allowed to leave a job. So whatever this wee fucker when it comes along, it's literally getting kicked out. You can't leave it until you get another job, and then from that point, my weekends are back again. That's a part.
That's it, right, sound. I'll see you in about 15 years then, mate.
15 year, mate. Me and you, me and you still cracking on in the top 5% of podcasts.
Fucking right, man. I found I discovered a hack for my paper rounds. Mine was only a Sunday paper round, right? And my wee granny, God love her, I was her blue-eyed boy, is that what you call it? I couldn't do it
Yeah,
more.
yeah.
She fucking loved me. I was her first grandchild. She loved me to bits. So I used to ask if I could go stay with her on a Saturday night so she would drive me around my Sunday paper round.
Yes. Mate, that's 100%. Like, my mum was like, "Oh, your dad used to drive you around." I was like, I done that paper run for about 2 years, and my dad drove me around about 3 times out of that 2 years. The amount of frozen mornings I'd be out on my bike, I'll be honest, the first time I discovered that you could shite yourself while cycling because I didn't obviously realise that when I worked in the paper shop that I did, that eating a chicken tandoori wrap at 6 o'clock in the morning without anything else wasn't good for the old digestive system.
Oh, mate.
I found out at delivery number 11 that yes, my arsehole was going with the clappers. So
Twitching like a rabbit's nose.
quick pit stop home. I was almost late for school that morning.
Mate, that's funny, man. My grand shatter cell phone my paper round or not.
Hey, I was gonna say, your gran's probably old enough to have got control. I didn't have an excuse.
Oh, so funny, man. It must be something about paper rounds.
Fuck me. Don't get a paper run. That's it. That if anybody's
Aye.
listening, don't get a paper run.
Apart for you, Ian, they're getting chucked out for a paper round.
Mate, is paper run still a thing? Do people still get them?
I don't know. I guess. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
thinking with the like I know that some people are obviously like I know newspapers are still there, but I think they're dying just because most people, let's say most people, it will be a generational thing, I imagine, where people start to get their news just from like online. But yeah, I don't know if it's still a thing.
Aye. A lot of people are getting their information through TikTok these days, aren't they? And that's why their brains are kind of trickling out their ears.
Do you not think TikTok's a very valid source of information, guys?
Oh, I believe everything you read on TikTok.
I say most people. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not going to chase it. Right, going to leave that one there.
That's a conversation for another episode, is it?
My wee mind's just going, and I'm like, nah, it's probably even too controversial for this, so I'm just going to leave that right
Oh,
like that.
you have piqued my fucking interest.
Nah, it's gone, mate. I'm leaving it because I genuinely think it'll be jail time, so I'm leaving it. No, I'm not here. That's behind hours, off camera, type
Okay.
conversation. But
Alexa, set reminder to chat with Kyle after the podcast.
yeah, mate, I was speaking to somebody on a call the other day that might even be listening back to this, but I was speaking to somebody on a call the other day, like similar Zoom chat to what we are, like properly deep getting into things. And I said to her, I was like, "Oh, do you have any equipment in the house?" Like talking about gym equipment. And then she was like, "Do we have any equipment in the house?" And this little like this foreign accent then started responding, and I was like, "Fuck, your Alexa sounds different to me." There was somebody camped beside her the entire time that I didn't see. I was like, they must have just been literally just off camera. I'm sitting for 40 minutes, they hadn't made a sound, and then she said, "Do you have any equipment?" And this fucking Spanish or Portuguese accent started coming back, and I was like, "Jesus, your Alexa sounding very different to mine."
That's what's the word I'm looking for here? No, I'm lost. I'm lost.
A pointless story. Yeah, no,
I
you're
was going to
right.
say a Hispanic Alexa.
Hispanic Alexa. She probably paid extra for that.
Mate, did you ever watch that? Did you ever watch the South Park episode when it caused absolute chaos with everybody's Alexas?
No, mate, I did not know.
Yeah, obviously, Alexa is triggered by saying the word Alexa, and
Hmm.
they put it, like in the middle of their episode, like I don't know if it was like shopping list or some stupid shit or Alexa play and whatever, and everybody's Alexas that were watching the South Park episode started like doing what Cartman was telling them to do.
That's fucking genius, to be fair.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic.
Not enough credit is given to that man. Fair play.
Recommend watching an episode just in a separate room for your Alexa.
I used to watch South Park like all the time. Remember the PSP, PlayStation Portable?
Hmm.
Mate, I found a legal way of downloading episodes onto. You could only like I could only hold like 3 episodes at a time, mate, and it took about 4 hours to download an episode. But I mean, I remember like on almost a nightly basis, I'd try and watch all 3 of them, and then set it up to download the next 3 episodes. And I think I probably got through about 3 seasons like that. But then, sure, there was a bit of effort involved, and then yeah, life happened, so never really followed it up. But yeah, South Park's yeah decent.
Very decent. I'd say you stopped watching it on your PSP because it was eating into your paper round.
Mate, I'll tell you what's a fucking hack and a half, right? So before, like, I used to have an MP3 player that had fucking 12 songs on it, and it was like I could literally recite every word of 50 Cent's Candy Shop at one point. It was just that was the same 12 songs. But then I realised, fucking thinking man's game here. Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories. Put it in your PSP, go and hijack a car, stick it in your pocket. You can listen to all the fucking tunes, flash it
Mate, that
on repeat.
that is fucking genius.
Mate, I'm telling you what, I was halfway. I mean, I thought I'd discovered. Mate, I'd completed life at this point on like £1.50 an hour on my paper run, listening to Vice City Stories or Flash FM. At one point, the arrogance of the game, I was in the car and I was cycling away. Real life, somebody must have fucking hijacked my car from me because all of a sudden the tune stopped, and I was like, "Dave, what are you doing?"
Oh, that's fantastic, mate. My favourite GTA radio station has got to be Kairos from San Andreas.
Mm. Yeah, man, here for
There
it.
is some absolute bangers on that.
I must, do you know what? I must say, I do prefer Vice City as a whole, simply because I got it on the PC or the laptop back in like when I was on a family trip to France, and it was a shite trip to France. We're literally in a caravan park in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was raining all the time. But literally first time playing Vice City, and that had the sun and it had the good tunes. So I'm like, I lived my holiday of 2003 in Vice City, like as
Brilliant.
opposed to France. So yeah, mate, I'm slightly attached to the soundtrack in Vice City more so
Aye.
experience.
Plus, is it Tommy or Tony? Tommy Vercetti.
On the Versetti, mate.
Mate, what a character.
Tony was in Grand Theft Auto 3, wasn't he?
Is that what it is?
Yeah. Right, we're going to move the conversation along because
Aye,
like we're turning into the fucking Grand Theft Auto stories.
we are now a gaming podcast.
We are a gaming podcast, mate. I was going to say top 5% of gaming podcasts now. I hijacked it.
Right, I'll kick it off then. I just want to touch quickly, briefly, briefly on the power of a voice message. Or not even just a voice message, just a message in general. I've been having a wee bit of a tough time this week, and I reached out because it was all getting completely overwhelming. And I wasn't looking for answers, I wasn't looking for help. I was just looking for something, if that makes sense. And I got sent, I'm not naming names. I get sent a 4 minute voice note, and honest to God, that 4 minutes completely changed the situation that I was in, how I was thinking, the way my head was working, how I was feeling. And all it took was for me to be like, fuck, I am in a deep hole here. I need a wee bit of help. And like I say, like I wasn't looking for the answer. I wasn't looking for the secret. I just needed something, and that 4 minute voice note was more than enough to get me back in the game, essentially. So if you feel like people that listen, if you feel like you are kind of struggling, this sounds like something I should be finishing the podcast on. If you feel like you're struggling or going through a wee bit of a tough time, do not underestimate the power of reaching out. Like I say, you don't need to ask for help. Just reach out, say, look, going for a bit of a shitty time just now. Do I have a catch up? Just something silly. And like I say, that 4 minute voice note is completely fucking transformed how I'm feeling. I woke up today feeling hungover from the amount of food that I've eaten the last 2 days. And now I'm ready to get on with the day. I feel like I'm just going, oh, he'd butter one and I'm away.
Hopefully your digestive system's ready to start shitting some of it out, mate.
Oh man, I might need to take a mid podcast break.
But I actually realised we're 17 minutes in. We've talked about shiting yourself. So we've got a cap on that.
Um, but I just wanted to touch on that as well, especially with being right at the start of the podcast too, just in case people don't make it to the end. But never underestimate the power of a message just reaching out when you feel like you're struggling. Stop trying to do it on your own, because if you've tried and failed many, many times before to do it on your own and it does get overwhelming, you do turn to food for comfort, etc., it's obviously not working. It's not what you need.
Yeah, couldn't agree anymore, mate. I very much think a lot of times, sometimes you don't always need the solution. Like with that,
Hmm.
it's just actually more so to be heard. And a lot of the time you can almost think your own way out of it. And sometimes it just takes a slightly different viewpoint or angle on it. And sometimes you can talk yourself into it and just go, right, okay, I've actually said it out loud. Just asking some simple questions to yourself, going, right, okay, well, why am I feeling the way I am? Is this a consistent theme? Like, and then breaking it down like that. But 100%, I think having communication with other people, I had this conversation with somebody else about stress the other week. Fuck it, I'll name them. It's like Kieran, one of my mates.
Hmm.
He had said to us last year, when he first started coaching with, he was going through a bit of a hard time. And one of the things that obviously but I put my story back in February, March, maybe. I was like, I'm having a tough. You know what? It dawned on me. I'm like, I actually am. It's not just a week or 2 weeks that I've been floundering a little bit or feeling a little bit overwhelmed with stuff. It's like I've been doing this for a while now, and it's like it's seeming to not get any better. My go-to when that happens is almost to go insular, where I'm like, I don't speak to. I'm always very much going. I'll sort this shit out myself. I'll double down on my efforts. I'll do this. And that comes at the cost where it eventually gets to the point where I'm like, when I realize I can't, and then that's where all shit hits the fan because I've got literally no coping mechanisms anymore. And then again, it turns to me reaching for something or doing something or acting in a way that wouldn't align with what I am. And I think just actually saying that out loud, first of all, can be massive. And I think like mental health, one of those things I had. Sorry to say this, Gary. I had a podcast with somebody yesterday who was into mental. I know, mate. Like he wasn't in the top 5% of the podcast. Fucking Cameron.
Yeah, cheating bastard.
I know, mate. I'm sorry. But what was I going to say? We were talking about like what goes on between the 2 years here, and I think a lot of time it can be a lot of stigma attached around it in terms of like
Mhm.
somebody says about mental health. like, don't want to say issues, but like they're not. Again, that is something that is going to be taxed like a muscle, in my opinion. That if it's going, you can fatigue at it. It can at times, and you need to subject yourself to stress to get better at things in life, in my opinion. So if you are feeling overwhelmed and stressed and everything else, it's usually a good thing because you're outside your comfort zone, so you are
Mhm.
pushing yourself. But at times, it's fine to say, look, I am not coping very well with this. Literally just saying that out loud. And the moment I actually said it I was on my stories because I had confided in a few people. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking go out there and say it because I deal with a lot of people who literally aren't going in a great place at times. And it's always at times it's about trying to move them in the right direction. Like, I can't hand on heart tell them, like, or give them advice and always make it sound like I'm winning when I'm absolutely not right now. So it's my almost duty to kind of just out myself and go, do you know what? I'm not feeling overly great right now. And I think doing that alone very much went, well, look, I've now admitted that, do you know what? My current coping mechanisms aren't what I've admitted. I'm not feeling overly great. And I didn't look for an answer, didn't look for solutions, but I then started to find it became a lot more simple for me to actually,
Mhm.
because there was people, good people around who would just reach out and go, do you know what? I felt like that. I feel like this. And sometimes it's not a solution, but actually understanding that you're not alone in that situation.
100%. And I think getting, like you touched on it earlier as well, just getting a second set of eyes on your situation, having somebody look at it from a different angle, because when we get in our own heads, we resort back to the way we think about things on default. So we can only really see it from one way. We're kind of blinded, if that makes sense. So getting a second pair of eyes on it and looking at it from that different angle can make things make more sense.
Yep.
That's what happened when I reached out. I was only seeing it from one point of view, my point of view that I kind of always default back to because it's all I know. So by reaching out, it got it got given to me, and I'm trying to articulate this. It got given to me with a fresh set of eyes and in a different way, and I was like, "Fuck me, that makes so much more sense." But I couldn't see it because I was too busy looking at it from my point of view. Does
Yep.
that make sense?
100%.
Um, so always getting a second pair of eyes on it. Sometimes even a third pair of eyes. Do you know what I mean? Don't be scared to reach out. I know, like us as fucking men, and we are solid. We are for Glasgow. Blah blah blah. We don't have feelings. We don't have emotions. We deal with everything. We just get up, brush yourself off, and get on with it. Took me years and years to actually realize, like, fuck me, I need to ask for help. Like, I tried. I was the same as you. I would shut myself away in my room for days, weeks on end, talk to nobody, play the computer, and it fucked me up mentally.
Yeah.
And it took me ages to actually kind of unravel everything that was not wrong, just everything that was going on and start to understand it a wee bit better. And nowadays I'm like an open book. Now I'm like, fucking hell, I'm struggling. Here's the deal. Oh, I feel so much better now that I've got that off my chest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
I,
you know what I mean?
I feel a lot of time it's difficult to speak about mental health because it's almost like you're almost when you speak about it, it's like one of those taboo subjects. It's like, oh, you need to have a psychology degree and you need to be able to speak to a professional and all that. And I'm like, yeah, mate, but we all have fucking brains and we all feel certain ways and we have experiences. And just because somebody's been signed off for a qualification, I'm not dismissing that. But at the same time, I'm just like, doesn't mean that you can't say things. And for me, I'm like, when it comes to mental health in terms of how I was feeling. It's not like I'm waking up every day and go, life shit. It's not like I'm
Mhm.
waking up every day and going, do what? There's no purpose in this and whatever. And to be fair, I have at points, genuinely at points, short periods of time, I have felt like that. And not more recently, but I have in the past. But I mean, that's not how I was feeling in terms of what I was saying. I was just like, I have some shit on right now. I have some shit on that is taking a bit of a toll. I feel like I'm playing life on hard mode right now, and I don't normally feel like that. And that's where I'm saying I'm struggling. I'm not struggling in the sense that like I've been through some fucking shit. So have you. Like we've all been through some shit. It's not the type of what do I say, mental health where you can't speak to me the way that like I think sometimes speaking to me the way that direct at times is exactly what's needed. I don't want it to be one of those ones, oh, okay, I was not going for a good place. You can't say
Yeah.
that somewhere we've all whatever. I'm like, fucking tell me exactly what you
Yeah.
think, what you say. Because for me, a lot of the time, I'm like, when you see or somebody speaks to like they're going through a hard time, a lot of the time I'm like, right, cool, are you wanting a shoulder to cry on? You want a solution with this? And a lot of the time it's like, cool, if you want a shoulder to cry on, that's absolutely fine. If you are wanting a solution though, have I got permission to be honest here? And cool, right, feel that way for a certain amount of time, lean into it, absolutely go for it. Why are you feeling the way that you are? What can we do about it? And how can we move you forward? Because I think a lot of time people let themselves stay in that, like that place for probably a bit too long. And then it becomes a bit of a personality where it's like they're just going through a hard time and life is tough and you become this victim to absolutely everything. And I'm like, you do always have a choice and action, and it does feel at times when stress is high, emotions are high, and there's external factors, it can feel like you're playing life in hard mode. But if you're receptive to either, again, first one, a problem shared is a problem half or solved, or whatever the fuck that saying goes, but realistically speaking, and then the second part to that is if you are genuinely willing to receive advice, and sometimes you need to have a little bit of a thicker skin and just go, right, if somebody's willing to give you advice, now not everything that they say might be applicable to you, but there probably is something that they're saying, again, coming from good people, make sure you have good people you're wanting to take advice from, as opposed to, there are certain people in my life, love them to bits, but I'm like, I wouldn't take advice or criticism off you, because you're not in a position that I want to be in, and that you live your life your own way, but like realistically you don't have the place to give me the advice on something when you've not walked that path yourself, if that makes sense.
100% take advice off the people that you trust for a start, and that fucking G you up, that get you going, that fucking support you through thick and thin. I completely agree with you as well. And see what you were saying about you don't have to go to somebody that's got a qualification just to hear them speak, or whatever it was that you said there. That's very true as well. Like, between us, me and you, over the years, we've worked with thousands of people from all walks of life. And when you're a coach, you're also almost like a part-time therapist as well. So we've learned a lot about people's emotions. We've learned a lot about people's coping mechanisms. We've learned a lot about how people's brains work and how they respond to certain situations. And no, I'm not saying like come to me for all your troubles at home, etc. But we still, anybody in the world still has a right, can you say a right, to be able to say something to you, and you are, fuck me, I'm getting so lost in my own words here, has a right to say something to you, and you're allowed to accept what they say to you. You don't need to not accept it just because they don't have a qualification behind them.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a bit of an art of lost. Like, I mean, it's only in the last fucking 100 years that people have started putting these. And I think there's a reason that people's mental health is getting fucking worse. Is it ironic that you've got more people that are qualified to be able to help you, yet mental health is getting worse? Make it make sense. But like, with that said, just because somebody gives an opinion, you have the right to pick it up and put it down. And I think we used to be able to fucking use our brains to be able to go, well, nah, mate, you're talking shite, or do you know what, there might be something said. I don't need to look and see if you've got a qualification. I'll look at your character and go, who are you? What have you done? And what relationship have you got to me? If a couple of those things align and you might say something, and to be fair, I might not take it overly well to start off with. Like, perfect example is my ma used to ask me to call me untidy, and used to like say that you're messy and this and that and whatever. It took me fucking years, genuine years of just like, and then I'm actually going, you know what, that shows up in a lot of areas of my life. Like, at a point where genuinely I was like, I can't run the business the way I want to be, being as messy and unorganized as I am. And I always used to rely on the fact that I was like the winging champion. I could wing anything with so much confidence and drive and energy that it would get me through. But I'm like, when you're scaling to such a point where you're working with so many people and you need to lead by example, I can't be doing that with fucking porridge stains down my shirt. I can't be telling people how to fucking help live my life and I've got fucking oats and berries on me. Like, so, like, I think with that, I didn't receive the advice the way I should have at the time. However, it was still applicable. So just because somebody gives you advice now and again, looking back at it, anytime somebody says something to me, even if it's hurtful, and I still get that sometimes, even if it's somebody that I probably am looking at going, you know what, you're not somebody I would typically take advice from, I do still scan it and go, is there anything that they're saying that is something I can take something from? And again, it's about using your fucking brain, and let's not get too bogged down in qualifications or anything like that, because do you know what? I've worked with some of the most qualified fucking PTs in the world, and they're shite. Shite beyond shite. I would rather take advice from some of the people who've been going to the gym for 12 years and don't have a fucking qualification to their name than somebody who's been qualified and fucking you look at them and go, Jesus, you aren't even able to tie your own shoelaces, hence the reason you're wearing Velcro to the gym.
Or Crocs.
Oh, I mean, I was going to say glass houses with them Crocs, mate.
Hey, did you see I got them in a wee video this week?
I did, mate. Enjoyed that. Actually, well, now that we're on the topic of fitness, mental health, and everything else, I actually do want to kind of approach another wee subject. So, just want your opinion on this. I think this time of year, you are seeing a lot of like fat loss challenges being marketed, particularly like the online side of things is fat loss. What's your, let me phrase this properly. How does that make you feel? What's your overwhelming thoughts when you see like, quote, you right? Are you for it or against it? Probably is a question.
A wee bit of both.
Cool.
A wee bit of both. So I'm for it because yes, summer's coming up. People want to look and feel good for summer. So if you want to do a 6, 8, 12-week shred, fucking go for it. Absolutely 100%. I'm against it because a lot of people sell it and push, look like this in 12 weeks and then stay like this forever. That's the bit I'm against. See if you're selling it with get in shape in 12 weeks. It's not going to be sustainable long term, but there is going to be ways that you can stay as lean as possible, but you're not going to look photo shoot ready for the rest of your life.
Yep.
So yes, I'm both for it and I'm both against it because some people do want to just work hard for 12 weeks, right? Some people want to work hard for 12 weeks, get in really good nick for summer, and then after summer, they don't care. And see if that's the way they want to live their life. Power to you. Go for it. Don't let anybody else online tell you, oh, you shouldn't be dieting for 12 weeks and then eating what you want the rest of the time. Fuck off. It's not your life.
Yeah. Cool.
But if you are someone that's struggling with obesity and disordered eating, not an eating disorder, just disordered eating, and you think a 12-week program is going to solve all your problems, and the PT sells it to you that way, then I'm against that.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's 100% fair, mate. I've been listening to a lot of different like I always try and listen to the alternatives of my own viewpoints to actually again just what we're talking about. Is there anything in that that'll challenge what I believe and why is it challenging what I believe and how I feel about it and is the ground somewhere in the middle? And I'll give you my own example. So when I first started PTing, probably like when I first started, I mean a proper like full time doing it as whatever, like no longer a part-time job, very much this was all I do. When I started doing it, I very much was the right, you don't need to weigh yourself or progress pictures, like you don't need to take them. I just need you to come to the gym. Realistically, like the gym will sort you out. And like again, being a PT that benefits not just them, it benefits me in that way. And generally, like in my head, I rationalize that in the sense that like if they come to the gym, do it frequent enough, then they'll get in shape. I wasn't quite understanding the fact that there are 24 hours they had in a day as much as I very much, you look back at anything I've ever put out and was like movement's important and all that. I wasn't quite sure how to measure or what the effects it actually had. So I very much was, you didn't need quantifiable progress. There was no markers of that. It was just, I come to the gym and that'll make you feel better. And I 100% stand by that. But on the opposite side of that, you then look at the extreme where it's like everything gets measured. Everything is like fat loss related. And I still think there can be a lot of help in that because I think, again, similar to what we're talking about, people are scared to say things these days. Similar to mental health, fat loss and obesity is on the rise massively. And I think a lot of that is when people say things like, oh, like using the words fat loss or doing these type of things are bad for people and it's only going to make matters worse. I'm like, is it though? Is it really going to make matters worse? Because a lot of people need to be challenged as to how bad they're actually getting because things aren't getting better for them, they're getting worse. And typically for me, most people could be doing with losing 10 kilos and like 10 kilos because it's not the impact of just fat loss, but the healthy habits, routines, what that actually means for them. I do think there is a balance in the sense that you don't need to go to the gym to actually train and get exercise, but I do think daily movement is important. I do think training can have a big impact on your life. But then on the other side of things, I don't think fat loss should be demonized. I think that it should be somewhere in the middle, whereas you touched on, if you have issues with food, is fat loss going to make things better or worse? And I actually can't answer that question. I think for some people, if done correctly, it can give them an idea of having more control over it. I don't think it's going to solve the problems, but I also don't think it solves the problem by saying, do you know what, you should just go on how you feel, and like calorie counting's bad for you, and it's just going to the gym solving your problems. I don't actually think that makes the thing any better, because you're just enabling that. I've had many people coming into me, that sounded absolutely honking, but I've had many people that I've spoke to, clients otherwise, that have come in with these preconceived, I don't want to weigh myself because you know what, the scales will fluctuate. I don't want to count calories because it's restrictive. I'm like, I understand you may have been burned by fat loss before because the way you perceive it, and I'm not here to push it upon you. However, I also don't think the opposite is true. If you don't weigh yourself, if you don't count your calories, realistically, you're still eating every time you're hungry. And when you're eating every time you're hungry, because you're hungry quite a lot, let's be fair, Cynthia, like you're eating a lot and you're eating the wrong things. So with that, it's going to push you in a direction where you're never going to have control over it, because I have seen it go that way. So I know I went off a wee bit of tangent there, but did that make sense?
100%, and I completely agree with everything that you said as well. And it's a good way to look at it as well, with the whole kind of weighing yourself and tracking your calories as well. Because that's quite like that's a very popular kind of hurdle that we tend to face. Comes up quite a lot. I've got a bad relationship with scale, so I don't want to weigh myself every day. Or I tried calorie counting before and I got too obsessed with it, so I don't want to calorie count anymore. When you've got a combination of both, it's hard. It's a hard one to reverse, essentially. So it was interesting to hear you talk about it and the way you put it across, and that will help people that are listening. Sorry, that will help people that are listening as well, who do have a poor relationship with the scales and they feel like they can't calorie count because it gets dead restrictive. So aye, that was class.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add to that is, like, when I have a conversation with people and they do bring that up straight away, I will question it. And I'll be like, well, why do you feel that? I'm not going to push anything upon people, but I will give you the pros and cons. And I'm like, right, if you're, I mean, it's clear, the data's clear that we're all heavier now than what we were 10 years ago, and it's only going one way. We all consume more calories now than we did 10 years ago. Like, and a lot of that's not genuinely the first person to say you need to take accountability for things. It's not entirely your fault you're eating a lot more food. Like, realistically, our brains are still fucking primitive in the sense that we still think that we need to go and hunt for food and there's a scarcity. Like, when you have food that's designed, like, I mean, there literally are people who are getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions, to make sure that you continually eat that food. Like, a Big Mac will digest without you actually chewing it. It just fucking digests and melts in your mouth. So, like, you are up against a drug that is giving you sensations of pleasure, and you're constantly having to take that. So it's very easy to then put on more weight, put on whatever. But the only way that you kind of take control of that back is actually to look at that for what it's worth and actually get a gauge of what that is. What I'd say on weighing yourself is, the majority of people don't want to weigh themselves because in the past they felt like they're doing all the right things and the weight is going the opposite way. In my experience, the people who don't want to weigh themselves are the ones who don't know how to control the scales. And it's almost like, if we don't, like, but again, if we don't ever look at addressing that, then they're never going to go to the point that we want. And realistically, there's not a difference if you weigh in at 90 kilos and that's what you start at, and you go down to 89.2, and then it's 89.1, and then it's 89, but then on the Thursday you go up to 90.5. The big thing that happens to most people is like, oh well, fuck it, I'm back at where I started. And it's like, then you self-sabotage, and that's what we need to address. It's not the actual scales, it's the fact you're probably eating later, you've had a higher calorie meal, there's more carbohydrates, there's salt, there's, like, you've not shat. Like, again, go a paper run with see what happens. Have a daily app in the morning. But when you start to actually take the emotion out of anything and look at it logically, that's
it.
I hate saying it because the quote annoys me, but it's like, if you went into somebody's house and you seen a fat dog And it's like you wouldn't start to go, well, that's metabolism's fucked, or like
Yeah,
that's bad genetics or whatever it is. You'd be like, you need to eat more, sorry, eat less and move more. And it does come down to the simplicities of that. 99 point, I would even go 99999% of people, that's all we need to do is just actually controlling those inputs.
100%, 100%. Touching on touching on what we were talking about, like calories and stuff there, like one of the members of the gym came at us the other day with a study that he read, and apparently they were studying one of the last kind of hunter-gatherer tribes in, I think it was Tanzania.
Right? Yeah.
And they were studying like how their bodies kind of react to the life that they live and how many calories they burn a day because obviously they're out hunting and they're moving all day. And apparently, I've not actually read the study. This is what he said, so I'm going to read the study just to see how true it is what he's saying. But he said they found that the hunter-gatherers in Tanzania's bodies were only burning, now bear in mind they're out all day looking for food, 2,800 calories roughly on average, 2,800 calories a day. And that's triggered something in his mind. And now he's started to doubt that calories are even a thing. And I'm like, because he's comparing that to the Western civilization. He's saying, so how can people that are on their feet all day only burn 2,800 calories? And I just found it interesting because I'm like, well, for a start, their bodies have adapted to conserve as much energy as possible. They're probably stick thin compared to Western civilization, so their bodies don't need to use as much energy to do all the things it has to do. But just stuff like that can have such an emotional response in people's heads, and then it can start to put doubts and stuff in their minds,
Yep.
and then that carries over into scale weight, that carries over into calories. Is calories in, calories out even a thing? Um, what if I we could go down a rabbit hole here. I'm going to try and stop myself.
No, mate, I agree. I always like science, whilst I genuinely at times, I'll be honest, when I've not been in a great place in the past, have doubted science or come up with my own fucking conspiracy theories about absolutely anything I've chose to. What science actually is, if we take the word science out of it, because we can actually just become numb to what science is. But what science is could we repeat that over time, no matter who we have in front of us? So if you took 100 people and gave them this variable, is outcome likely to be the same? And can we prove that in different conditions with different people over time continuously? So every single, bar none, and bear in mind this is getting tested on a regular basis, every single study that's ever been done on calories in versus calories out has proven outcomes to say that weight loss will occur. There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. There's nothing that has ever been shown that weight loss doesn't occur with calories. They literally, back in the day before fucking ethics was a thing, there is a study where they strapped people, not strapped people, but they had people lying pretty much, I think it was for 5 days on a bed without any movement and fed them. I think it was like 1,200 calories or something like that. Can't remember the exact number. Every single one of them, bar none, drop weight. Like there
Yep.
was no somebody's metabolism was fucked or whatever. What actually happened was there was no issues with them putting milk in their coffee that they weren't accounting for, or taking a sneaky Jaffa cake, or eating the kids' food, or saying a pizza was 400 calories when it was 1,400 calories. To be fair, if you're listening to this and you're not losing weight, it's because you're a wagon. It's because you've not logging things properly. It's hard to say that, but genuinely, that is the issue. The issue, if you look in the mirror, the issue is the person in front of you, but the solution is
Mhm.
the person in front of you. Let's start going through things. If you go through a 60-day period, which sounds like a lot at the time, but you could do it over a fucking 2-week period. But if you do a 60-day period, and I promise you log absolutely everything to the T in front of you, and we are genuinely in enough of a deficit, you will find that your weight will come down. We work with people, me and you, to find where those holes are. And I
Mhm.
always find them. The more honest someone is, the quicker we find them.
Yep.
The more that someone wants to kid on to themselves. And to be fair, I'm not saying that I'm exempt. There has been times where like we're all good up until the weekend, and then that's still, oh, tired at the weekend. What I'm going to do is back when I did enjoy my weekends a little bit more than what I do now in terms of pints, I would be like, oh, I'm going to log 4 pints because that's all I'm going to have. Then before you know it, it's like, oh, the game I was watching went to extra time, so there's another two, and then it's like, oh, somebody bought you a pint as well, so then you're looking back on. I had 7 pints. I think was it 8? I forgot. I don't know. Was there a shot involved there? And then do you know what? I had a kebab. Fuck, what was the kebab? Did I have a kebab? Jen, did we have a kebab? And then it's like I don't even know what a log that is. And then you kind of go on a few days, forget about it, and then you're looking back on. Oh, I actually only had like 2,000 calories,
Aye.
and then you're like, you're talking shite, mate. Like you've convinced yourself of something that has happened that hasn't actually happened, and then that's the issue. I've been there, and if I've been there, like, and I've been doing this and coach people how to do this, I would put my fucking bottom dollar on the fact that most of us have fucking been there.
Oh, every single one has been there. Every single one has been there.
Then you
It's
can just
almost,
settle on. You're going to start Monday. It's like, oh well, close enough.
aye,
Start Monday.
exactly. And then you go absolutely ham over the weekend because you know you're starting on Monday. You cram it all in. You have like almost like a planned binge.
Yeah, and you're 3 kilos up, and then it takes you till Thursday to even see even ground.
Aye.
Then by Thursday, the process repeats itself on Saturday, and then you're like, I just don't know how I can't lose weight, and I'm like, you're a fiend, is what
You're a
you are.
fiend.
You're a
Yeah.
fiend.
I had another cracker in the gym as well. You like this? One of the women that was training in my class yesterday, she went and bought a bottle of Powerade, and she was like scanning it into her app, and she was reading the ingredients, and she's like this. Now, bear in mind, she was scanning it in the app with her phone, right? And she's reading the ingredients, and she went, "Oh, aspartame. Oh, I try and avoid aspartame." And I went, "How come?" And she went, "Oh, because it's a carcinogen." And I went, "So's your phone." And she went, "Aye, but this is worse." And I was like, "No, it's not. The two of them are a 2B carcinogen." It's like, where have you got your information for? YouTube, TikTok, nonsense.
What's
I'm
this?
like, it just goes to show you that though, like how easily people can be convinced and brainwashed into believing. If you shout about something that is not true, but you say it convincingly and you sound convincing and you sound like you're telling the truth, people believe it.
Yeah, 100%. As if you say it loud, you say it proud, you'll be fine. And to be fair, a lot of the time I have believed things that I haven't had any scientific backing because you know
Oh,
what? It worked for me.
I
And
know.
it worked for me. And I'll tell you what, see if you'd asked me when I was 20 years old what the way to go was, I'd be like keto 100%. Like I am at the time I think I was measured that it was like 6 or 7% body fat, albeit there was fucking not a bit of muscle mass on me, but I was at 100% keto. It's the only way to, carbs are bad for you, like lose fat. I'm like, because I had got in shape through a calorie deficit by eating keto, when I actually discovered my fitness pal and put through what I was eating, it was like 1,100 calories because all I was eating was fucking packets of chicken.
Mhm.
So that was the mechanism. But in my head, I convinced myself it was keto. If I had the platform back then, I probably would be shouting about keto, 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 keto. Like, but the best thing that ever happened, albeit I didn't learn anything at uni, probably unfair to say I didn't learn anything. It did teach you to be critical thinking about things in terms of like, right, okay, what's been said? Can you back up? Can it be repeated? And it's like when you put it through that filtration system, you're like, well, actually, there are very few things that there are very few things, or the things that are repeatable are the ones that make sense, and that's why. Not even from a nutrition standpoint, but you have exercises like, oh, this is the best exercise to do for this, or this is the best exercise to do like that. The ones that have stood the test of time is because they're repeatable over time.
Mhm.
There's a reason that barbells to this day, doesn't matter what fucking shape you make them anymore, what handles you put on them. I'm not against making things better, but there's a reason that they are typically the same movements in the same way, repeated over the same kind of process in the same rep range, because it makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
it makes sense and it works.
100%. I am going to have to go in 5 minutes, and also I think my bladder's got about 3 minutes. Is there anything else we want to touch on before we go?
I think that's been. Oh, we got a date of entry.
What?
A date of
Oh,
entry for the
so,
house.
sorry. I was like, I didn't actually. You merged all 3 words, date of entry, yeah, 3 words into one there.
Oh, did I?
You
Da,
mashed
Vin-
on the
da,
keyboard with no spacebar.
Da Vinci.
Sorry. So when is said date?
3 weeks. 3 weeks today.
Was that 1st of May or something, is it?
The 3rd of May, aye. So
Class.
yeah, finishing it on a high note. We got a date of entry for our very first house. I am fucking buzzing.
So if you're listening round about that week, we'll have on the show notes when the date of the empty is on Gary's house.
Aye, big party at Gary and Rachel's. Bear will love it. You'll love the attention.
Yes. I'll have a wee tandoori wrap to Chris in the toilet.
Brilliant, man. Absolutely brilliant. Nah, I'm buzzing for that, mate. Is there anything that you want to share? Ending on a positive as well for you.
No, if I don't go to the toilet soon, I'll be sharing my piss. So
Right,
no,
mate. Away you go. Go and get for a piss. Thank you everybody for listening and for sticking through this episode as well. I thought it was a fantastic episode, mate. I had a really good chat. Kyle, where can they find you?
for the next 3 days at BioFitness88. After that, it's Kyle at BioFitness. Yeah,
Yes.
Gary, where can they find you?
For the foreseeable future at GMAC_health and fitness. Yeah, no plan on changing that anytime soon.
Hashtag 5%. Right, mate, I'm going to go because actually I'm going to wet myself. Right.
No worries, right, team.
Cheers for
Thank you all
listening.
very much. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.